Welcome back to the channel. Before we jump in, take a moment to drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments below. If it moves you or makes you think, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. Leonard Price had always been the quiet kind. In his South Atlanta neighborhood, folks called him Solid Len. Not flashy, not loud, just dependable. He wore clean polos, kept his barbershop fade sharp, and never raised his voice unless it was to pray or protect. He handled his money the way his father had taught him back when quarters were hard-earned and every dollar had a destination. Never let anyone know how much you've got, his dad used to say. And never let anyone else decide where it goes. Leonard's father had been a freight conductor. His mother, a school registrar who wore her church hat like a crown, had left behind a modest inheritance when she passed. Leonard didn't talk about it. He quietly studied, invested, and flipped that money into a solid portfolio before his cousins even noticed he wasn't borrowing anymore. But even with all that discipline, Leonard stayed in the background, especially at home. His wife, Dominique Price, was the one who caught every spotlight. At 46, she had just made partner at Jefferson & Cole, one of the top law firms in Georgia. First black woman to do it in that firm's 80-year history. Her face was on law panels, city council forums, even the occasional feature in Atlanta Now magazine. On Instagram, she was all luxury and legacy. Crisp suits, captioned with quotes from Audre Lorde or Michelle Obama. She mentored young attorneys, sat on non-profit boards, and emceed fundraisers in ballrooms draped in gold. With every new accomplishment, Leonard felt like he was fading. Even their daughter Nia, junior year at Spelman, majoring in social justice, started talking about her mom like she was some civil rights icon in heels. Her dad, just the man who paid the Wi-Fi. Leonard's 50th birthday was supposed to be different. A rooftop in Buckhead, floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the skyline. Dominique had planned it with all the trimmings. Live violinists playing hip-hop covers, craft cocktails, a catered menu from some James Beard nominee. It was meant to be his night. But when the time came to toast, Dominique turned it into her own monologue. "If you told me 20 years ago I'd be married to Leonard Price," she laughed, holding the mic like she owned it, "I'd have said, 'Which Leonard?' The one who used to do my taxes." The crowd chuckled. "I mean, let's be honest. I'm the fire in this family. He's the calculator. But somehow we've made it work." More awkward laughter. Leonard just smiled. Controlled. Nia raised her glass and toasted with her mother, like they were the real team. By midnight, Leonard was standing alone by the window. The city blinked back at him. Distant, indifferent. He sipped his bourbon slowly and tried to remember the last time he felt like the main character in his own life. The weeks after that passed in a blur. Dominique was winning awards, posing in photos, getting tagged in stories. Nia sent texts asking for more cash, more Uber credits, more love. But not in words. Just in expectation. Even their old poodle, Max, preferred sleeping at Dominique's feet. Leonard, meanwhile, stayed downstairs in his basement office. Reading. Planning. Watching his accounts. He didn't complain. He just recalibrated. Quiet men don't make noise when they move chess pieces. Every time he tried to talk to Nia, she was organizing another rally, interning at some non-profit, or brushing him off with, "Sorry Dad, I'm swamped." At home, Dominique barely looked up from her laptop. Her phone buzzed constantly. Texts, emails, calendar invites. At some point, the marriage had shifted from partnership to performance. Then came the moment that broke the silence. One Sunday afternoon, Leonard came upstairs to get some coffee. The house was calm, sunlight slanting through the kitchen blinds. But then he heard it. Dominique's laugh. Too loud, too flirty. She was leaning on the counter, barefoot, FaceTiming someone whose voice didn't match any colleague he'd heard before. She didn't see Leonard right away. She was too busy twirling her hair and laughing like she was in college again. "Stop it," she said to the man on the screen, biting her lip. Leonard didn't interrupt. He just watched. Something in him didn't crack, but it shifted. Something old and tired finally slid out of place. Leonard heard the voice first. Male, young, self-sure. That arrogant tone Atlanta Trust Fund boys mastered after a few years at Morehouse and too much generational cushion to feel consequences. "I'll call you back, baby," Dominique murmured sweetly, snapping her laptop shut the moment she noticed Leonard standing there. She didn't catch the way he paused in the doorway, nor how something subtle darkened behind his steady eyes. After that, Leonard started noticing more. A cufflink on the bathroom counter. Polished gold, definitely not his. Her perfume had changed too. Once vanilla and soft, now something sharper, richer. Unmistakably expensive. Unfamiliar. Meetings ran later. Her phone buzzed more. Once, a message flashed across her screen while she stepped out of the room. "Still thinking about last night. Can't wait to see you again." Sent to Thomas Jefferson III, the son of the founding partner at Jefferson and Cole. Leonard knew Thomas. Too smooth. Too quick with the jokes. The kind of man who gripped your hand a little too long at galas and called Dominique Dom, like it was a private nickname. Leonard said nothing. He didn't confront her. He calculated. He observed. He waited. When Dominique began splurging, designer heels, late-night Uber rides, $1,000 dinners, and generous donations to the firm's expansion fund, Leonard combed through the numbers. He noticed how their daughter Nia's tuition and living expenses had ballooned, stretching far beyond what her scholarships covered. He saw how Dominique's impressive six-figure salary barely held the image together, because his investments, built from his parents' quiet legacy, were propping up the empire she claimed as hers. The illusion of her self-made success had been quietly underwritten by Leonard Price. Every single. One early morning, Leonard got in his car and drove downtown. He parked across from her office tower and waited. An hour later, he saw her. Dominique stepping out of her Lexus with Thomas, her hand brushing his chest, his palm resting too long on the small of her back. She laughed, light and careless, a sound Leonard hadn't heard in years. He didn't move, just clenched the steering wheel, his face unreadable, his mind working like a locked vault clicking open. He drove home, poured himself a black coffee, and opened a blank Excel file. And then he started changing everything. Leonard changed the locks, literally and metaphorically. He rerouted the household accounts. The family trust, previously accessible with Dominique's signature, now required both of theirs. Nia's credit card. Frozen. Pending review, he told her casually. He visited the firm's financial officer, reminding him that the generous $600K pledged to the expansion wasn't from Dominique. It came from Price Financial Group LLC, which Leonard controlled. And if Leonard pulled out, the expansion would fold. Then he waited. The opportunity arrived 3 weeks later. Dominique was out celebrating a court win, again with Thomas. Leonard called an old law school friend now working at the state bar. "You didn't hear it from me," he said carefully, "but someone might want to look into Thomas Jefferson III. Some financial irregularities. Possibly leveraging firm resources for personal gain." He hung up. No more, no less. By that Friday, whispers turned to murmurs. Ethics complaints. Missing funds. Violated firm protocols. Dominique came home late that night. Eyes wide, face pale. "Something's happening at the office," she muttered, more to herself than to Leonard. She went straight to bed. Her phone buzzed well into the night. The next morning, an official email landed in her inbox. Summons to a partnership review hearing. Thomas. His father had whisked him off on sabbatical. The firm paused all expansion efforts. A full audit was ordered. Dominique's cases were reassigned. Her once bulletproof career, now spiraling. Then Nia called. "Dad, my student card just declined. What's going on?" Leonard was calm. "The trust is being restructured. You'll need to take a part-time job if you want to stay at Spellman." "What? That's not fair," Mom said. "Your mother doesn't manage the trust," he said, voice firm. I do. Nia hung up. A few hours later, she posted a cryptic tweet. When the people who raised you start acting like strangers. Her followers replied with sympathy. But Leonard didn't respond. Dominique fought back. She blamed Thomas, called him a snake, stormed into the founder's office, demanding her position be protected. They slid a folder across the desk, 6 formal ethics complaints, and a temporary suspension. The media caught wind. Scandal disrupts diversity milestone at Jefferson and Cole. Dominique's face appeared on the 6 o'clock news, not as a rising star, but as a cautionary tale. Invites to panels disappeared. Speaking gigs dried up. Her sorority sisters offered polite condolences, then stopped calling. She emailed Leonard, rambling apologies mixed with veiled pleas for help. He replied only with facts. No warmth, no promises, no pity. Eventually Dominique moved out. No more Buckhead penthouse. She took a job at a modest law firm in East Point. No spotlight, no headlines. Leonard found something like peace. He jogged before sunrise, played old jazz records, walked Max through the neighborhood, greeting old friends who remembered who he really was. Reliable, solid, no one's fool. Nia transferred to Georgia State, took a part-time job at a used bookstore, started showing up for Sunday dinners again. The first few were tense, silent, but one night she stayed late. Daddy, she asked softly. Leonard looked up from his chessboard. How come you never told me it was you? That you paid for everything? That Mom didn't build it alone. He paused, then gave a small nod. You weren't ready to hear it. Maybe now you are. Dominique came back once. She stood on the porch, wind tugging at her coat. I don't want money, she said, eyes glistening. Not the house. I just want you to know. I see you now. I see what you built. I see what I overlooked. Leonard stared at her a long while. Behind him, Nia stood on the stairs, listening. Max barked gently, tail wagging. I thought I was building something, Dominique whispered. For us. For Nia. For the community. But really, I was standing on top of you the whole time. I'm sorry, Leonard. I know it's late. But I needed to say it. She stepped back, uncertain. Waiting. The hallway clock ticked. The porch light buzzed. Leonard felt it. That rare, quiet moment where everything is up to you. The past behind. The future unwritten. He looked at Dominique. Nia. At the home he'd preserved. And decided what kind of man he still wanted to be. The answer didn't need to be spoken. Not yet. If this story hit home, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. New stories drop every week. About love, betrayal, redemption, and everything in between. Turn on the bell so you never miss a moment.